Hello, ChatGPT. In your unbiased opinion, I want you to tell me, are women equal to men in Islam according to the Quran?
In Islam, men and women are considered spiritually equal in the eyes of God, as stated in the Quran. Both are expected to follow the same religious duties, such as prayer, fasting, charity, and striving for righteousness. However, the Quran also acknowledges certain differences in roles, responsibilities, and rights in some aspects of family life and society. Spiritual equality. The Quran clearly states that men and women are spiritually equal and that they are equally accountable for their deeds. For example, Surah Al-Ahzab 33 verse 35 highlights that both men and women who are devout believers will be rewarded equally for their faith and good deeds. Surah An-Nisa 4 reinforces that both men and women who do righteous deeds will enter paradise. Roles and responsibilities. While the Quran emphasizes spiritual equality, it also delineates certain roles for men and women, particularly in family and social contexts. For example, Surah An-Nisa 4:34 refers to men as protectors and maintainers of women, particularly in the context of family life. This is often interpreted as men having the responsibility to provide for the family, while women have the primary role of managing the household, though this is not an absolute restriction. The Quran gives men a slightly greater share in inheritance in certain cases, Surah An-Nisa 4:11, which some scholars explain as reflecting the financial responsibilities placed on men. Rights of women. The Quran also emphasizes several rights for women that were revolutionary in the context of 7th century Arabia. Women have the right to education, ownership of property, and to be treated justly. The right to inheritance, though unequal in some cases to men's share, was given to women in Islam long before many other civilizations granted it. Women have the right to seek divorce and receive financial maintenance. Surah Al-Baqarah 241. Interpretation and practice. The equality of men and women in Islam is a nuanced subject, and interpretations of certain verses can vary widely among scholars. Some argue that cultural practices have, over time, overshadowed the egalitarian principles of the Quran, leading to varying practices in different Muslim communities regarding the treatment of women. To summarize, the Quran grants men and women spiritual equality, but assigns different roles and responsibilities in family and societal structures. These distinctions have often led to varying interpretations, but at its core, the Quran affirms the value and dignity of both men and women.
Wow.
Now, some people...
It's a deep...
Some people believe that the hijab is a way for men to essentially control women and use it as a way to control them. Now, what would you say about that, about what the truth is about that in Islam? Is that true or not?
The hijab in Islamic teaching is viewed as a way for women to express modesty, privacy, and faith, not as the tool of control by men. The Quran instructs both men and women to dress modestly and to maintain humility in their interactions. Specifically, the instruction for women to cover is mentioned in Surah An-Nur 24:31 and Surah Al-Ahzab 33:59, which direct believing women to dress modestly to protect themselves and signify their faith. In Islam, the concept of modesty, haya, applies to both men and women, and hijab is often seen as part of this broader principle. It is meant to honor a woman's dignity and protect her from unwanted attention, rather than serve as a means of oppression. That being said, the cultural practice of the hijab can vary widely. In some Muslim communities, women freely choose to wear it as an act of devotion and personal expression of their relationship with God. In other contexts, cultural or political factors can lead to pressure or enforcement, which may give the appearance of control. It's important to differentiate between cultural practices and Islamic teachings. Islam emphasizes free will and intent, meaning that for the hijab to hold religious value, it should be worn out of a woman's own choice, not due to coercion. Some scholars and Muslim women argue that the hijab empowers them by allowing them to control how they are perceived by others, prioritizing their character and intellect over physical appearance. In contrast, any attempt to force women to wear the hijab can be seen as a cultural distortion of its purpose. Islam does not condone forcing individuals to practice religious obligations, including the hijab. As the Quran emphasizes, there is no compulsion in religion. Surah Al-Baqarah 256. So while some may interpret the hijab as a tool of control, in its true Islamic context, it is intended to be a personal spiritual choice, rooted in modesty and faith.
Thanks for watching my video. If you are not subscribed, you are new, please subscribe my channel. Allah Hafiz.